Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. They say in heaven, love comes first. Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. We're making heaven a place on earth. All my atheists, make some noise. Ooh, ooh. All my agnostic people, pick a side. I'm Dagan Michelle,
And I'm Jimmy Anti.
and you're listening to Dagan and Jimmy
Are
are in the
in the
green
green
room.
room.
Hi everyone, how are you
Girl,
doing?
I'm feeling okay. I've got a dark soda, which is one of my addictions, so I'm
Yes.
feeling pretty good.
I've got a cranberry limeade from Sonic en route. We're going to speak about our church experiences. That could be from any time. Let's be honest, I'll open the
Mine
combo.
are gonna be from last week.
Yes. The only reason I went to church, one of the main reasons was so I could eat. And that was every Wednesday night. I would get good food. And every Sunday morning, we would cook a shit ton of food and eat it. Me and a group of kids. We also had like a haunted house on Halloween. I was actually pretty close with my church group. We went on float trips together.
I feel like I remember multiple times where like people would come into the churches that my family had brought me to.
Yes.
And they were fully only there because they were hungry and the church was giving away food,
Yes.
but then they make you
Yes.
sit through the sermon,
Yes.
um, even if you're literally just starving.
Right.
So is that kind of you were like, honestly, I don't give a fuck what you're talking about, but you've got donuts, you've got dinner, so
Very
I'm
that.
here.
It was like something to do. It was like a place to hang out that
Yeah,
was,
like recreation.
yeah, like outside of home. Because I remember like church for me, like it was called Powerhouse. It was a party. Like it was a shit ton of kids.
Yeah.
Literally, like mostly, like it ranged from like middle school to high school. And once you turned 18, they booted you out. But like, it was crazy. Like, people were getting thrown through walls. People were fighting. People were like going across the street and smoking
So it was like
weed.
everybody in town kind of went to this
Yes.
anyway.
It was like
Right.
nobody was going for church. Like, people were going to like, like we literally had like a fucking buffet. And it was like in like an old, I don't even want to. It wasn't like a gym. It was just like It was literally a recreational building where they had like a racket ball room. There was a basketball court room, but like the racquetball room was like had like foosball tables and like
So
karaoke in
you were
there.
always choosing to go to church.
Yeah, but it was like literally Wednesday nights, like a group. Everyone had their groups, their little cliques, and they would literally all go.
I
Rich kids, poor kids, snotty kids, bitchy kids,
I
nice
felt
kids.
guilted. I went to church because I mean, it wasn't really a choice because my parents were making me go, but I also felt like I owed it. Like I had to do it. Like it was like my moral responsibility to do this. So it was like a negative thing for me,
Yeah,
less so like, ooh, I'm gonna go get my needs taken care of, and more
right.
of a like, oh, I'm gonna be like subtly like gaslit in a
Yep.
million different ways and made to feel like bitch, I wasn't bullied at school, but I was bullied at church. The kids at
Oh,
church were
yeah.
mean.
Oh, there were definitely
Oh,
times at church where like people literally put their hands on me,
yeah.
but the people took responsibility of the situation and were like, yeah, you gotta go. You're not welcome back here. Like,
They kicked the other person out? Okay, that's
yes.
good.
And also like my the church I went to, I remember having conversations about like what if God isn't real? And like I remember having conversations about like being queer doesn't mean you're going to hell.
Oh, that's
But then
crazy.
on the other end, they were like, yeah, you need to pick a gender. Like you're either male or
But they were
female.
cool with it. They were cool with you
Yeah.
being gender nonconforming. You
Yes.
just couldn't be non-binary.
Apparently not. But also that was like holy shit, like 20 whatever,
Bitch,
2010.
I remember going into church, and at the time, I had a relative who was Catholic,
Yeah.
and this was the church that I attended. That one of my parents made me go to,
Yeah.
and it was It was non-denominational.
I guess I could mention, since you're mentioning, the church I was going to was like loosely Christian. Like
Really?
Yeah.
Like, just barely more of a cultural institution.
Yes, like my youth pastor was also a massage therapist.
That's like,
Like very,
um, I
which I
went.
did take him up on that
I
offer.
went to a non-denominational church, which is a fancy way of saying we're going to pretend like we aren't a specific kind of Christianity,
Right.
but we're actually Baptist.
Yeah.
Bitch, they do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So and Baptists famously love telling all the other denominations that they aren't going to heaven.
Yeah.
Christians in general love that, but Baptists, it's their favorite.
Right.
And so I remember going to a literal youth group, and the youth pastor, we were sitting down, and I was like, oh, my relative is Catholic. Or, like,
Yeah.
are they going to go to heaven? And I just remember my youth pastor saying, no, your relative's going to hell unless they stop being
Like,
Catholic.
what?
And I was like, this is crazy because this relative is a Christian,
Yeah.
and they're still not doing, like, they're going to hell even
Right.
though they believe in Jesus. They believe in,
Right.
which are all, they follow all the rules.
Right.
But it turns out there's also some extra, like, political stuff happening
Right.
where you're going to go to hell if you're not this kind of a specific Christian in these kinds of churches. And that's kind of when I got clued into, like, I think it's all hogwash.
No, it really is.
Were you ever buying into it, or were you always just kind of like there for what it offered?
So just like experience with religion and like religion as a whole in my like family, religion for me was never like a serious thing. It was almost like oh, I can hold this over your head once a year. Like, oh, we have to go to church. I can remember a time where I thought, oh my gosh, if I'm not saved, I'm going to go to hell. Like I remember having that one, that one thought. Not that I ever went to church, not that my family ever went to church,
Right.
but I could remember that. And then like I think I like talked about it like one time, sprinkling into a conversation that I may be scared that if I'm not saved, I'm going to hell. And
who?
then I think my mother.
Okay.
And I ended up at church getting baptized. And my mom crying hysterically. And I mean, she died shortly after. But
Was your mom a Christian?
no, not really. If we want to talk about like, okay, a Christian they're like a set of standards. Like if you really are like, I'm following this book, like
Right.
these rules. No,
My family
no.
was fully
like
they're like, we are
no,
Christian when I was
no,
a young child.
No. So like I have distinct memories of being like unhoused, like unfairly unhoused, and somehow ending up in a motel, not a hotel, a motel, like a rundown, flooded, infested, skanky motel,
In Carthage, Missouri.
just not like all over Missouri. Like
Kansas.
yes. And I can remember distinctly, you know how in like cheap motels there's always like a little Bible. There's always Bibles
Right.
in the like little nightstands. I don't know how many Bibles I saw my mom rip up like throughout my childhood. My mom literally it felt like she ripped up a Bible like once a month.
Like in a mental health episode?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know what the symbolism of the Bible was. I don't know why it was the Bible, or she would like break mirrors. Triggered.
Right.
I definitely like a little BPD outbreak for sure. And
Yeah.
I've definitely inherited that. But never have I like ripped up a Bible. Not that I wouldn't. Like I don't give a shit.
But
Like
your mom also, she named you after the Satanic Bible. Like,
well yeah, so Dagon
so she knew these
yes, like Dagon was
references.
a demon's name. Dagon is a demon's name in the Satanic Bible. So yeah. And she like I think if there was
Did you know that when you were going to church?
No. I don't think anyone else did either. But luckily I didn't catch on fire.
Right.
We didn't start the fire. Yeah, I remember like I think like when my grandma died is when like, oh, we're gonna go to church on Easter. Like I think that's when that like died out. And then, like extended family and then like immediate family kind of just like slowly teetered into nothing.
Yeah,
And
I
now,
think also in the last, like,
I'm sorry if anyone. I just want to say this: if anyone in my family tried to claim religion or whatever, I would literally. I'd be like, okay, let me pull out this book and like the Ten Commandments. Okay, you are
breaking all
None
10
of
of them.
you're fucked. You are fucked. Megan, just because you drive a school bus doesn't mean that you're a good person.
Period. Do you have a school bus driving family member?
Yes.
And they're not a good person.
Oh, I don't know.
But that was just an example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Too soon, too close, too real.
One time when I was in Sunday school, one of the other kids asked me why I talked like a girl.
And you're like, because I'm a girl.
Well, I was offended, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they had a polo on, dressed up for church.
Yes.
And it was unbuttoned 2 buttons, and they had a big hairy birthmark on their chest that was poking out of their polo. And they said, "Why do you talk like a girl?" And immediately I'm offended, and immediately, without even thinking about it, I go, "I don't know, why do you have those buttons unbuttoned so we can see your hairy mole?" And he started crying.
Oh my God.
And I got in trouble.
Of course.
Even though that fucking asshole
Of course.
started it. Yeah, and I remember always hating church because that kind of stuff never happened at school.
Yeah.
But whenever we went to church, the kids were really mean.
Yeah.
And it's almost like part of American Christianity, modern American Christianity, is being a hateful fucking conservative.
No, literally, it's like it's come full circle. Well, okay, another...
Which is crazy because Jesus loved hanging out with the prostitutes.
Right.
Jesus would have, honestly, I think Jesus would have partied with us. Jesus would have been a guest on Dagan and Jimmy Are in the Green Room. Like,
A guest judge on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Jesus would have been a guest. Yeah.
Literally.
No, fully. Which is wild because the message of American modern Christians is so fucking different from like the philosophy of the Bible, like not even getting into the religious aspect of it, but just like the life teachings of Jesus Christ. Christians in America right now have it literally so backwards.
Right. I always remember like not ever necessarily being a part of a church, but like always it was that tone of something to do. So like there were times where my mom we'd be, living in a random town because she pissed somebody off, like some dealer off and ripped him off. So we've driven here and now we're here and, oh, get out of my hair. You're going to Vacation Bible School for the week.
Right.
I can remember
I
one
love
time,
a
this is so
Vacation
funny.
Bible School.
I can remember one time, like this one church, there was like a slip and slide that we did. We ate like hot dogs and hamburgers.
Slay.
We had a craft night where this is literally white culture in America, white Christianity. We, by hand, children,
Right.
literally with a table saw, cut out hearts out of wood and made like a 3-dimensional heart out of wood by hand. Literally, they let us like hammer and nail it together, and then we painted it
Crazy.
like an American flag. So because it was summer, I don't know. And I don't even think it had a purpose. Maybe it was a birdhouse. Yeah, I think it was like
they had y'all using power tools.
Yes, we were literally, I remember being a child using power tools. Like, obviously, there were like adults like supervising us, but like, we were
were
literally
still 8
using
years
like
old using a
yes,
power
like
tool.
using a fucking table saw.
That is crazy. I don't remember ever using power tools. I remember like there were a bunch of Hobby Lobby wooden crosses that the church.
Yeah,
had, like, bought
why
in
does
bulk.
church just remind me of like wood? Like when I think of church, I think of
and
wood.
cheap crafts, juice in tiny little paper cups.
Juice.
You didn't get juice at Vacation Bible School?
Yes.
Watered down though, baby.
Yes.
Half
It
the
was
cup
like
was juice.
you would get
the other
like
half was water.
You would get like one of those like Ritz like cheese things with the little pretzel sticks. You got like one of those. Then
Yes,
you'd get like
the dippers.
Yes, and then you would get like a cheese stick.
Uh-huh.
And then a thing of juice and maybe some graham crackers, and you're like,
on a fucking
Girl,
tissue. They would
I'll
literally
take
like
that.
lay a tissue on the table and then they'd like
Yes.
sprinkle out 4
Yes.
goldfish and then your cup
Yeah.
of watered down juice
Yeah.
and then your little packet of dippers and they're like, here's your dinner tonight. And you're like, I can't wait for my mom to pick me up.
oh my God. Also, like somebody in my family married a woman who was a part of a church, like her family owned, because a church is a fucking business. Like, what else would you say? Her family owned a church. Her family ran a church.
I guess ran a church is like
Right.
technically what you
So
say.
her family had a church, and I just remember I have so many memories. as a child of going, like we would go, the whole family, we would have get-togethers, like extended family, immediate family, like their families. We would all meet at this church, and we have like photos there, like get-togethers. I think a few people may have gotten married there, and I just always remember being like tiny, and it was like we were in a church, but like we weren't necessarily doing church things, and it was kind of fun because it was like an old ass like church, and I would just like run around and like get into shit, and like also there were some times where like I would be there and there would be like church things happening where I would get like thrown into Sunday school classes, but like I was family and like everyone knew, so
That
like
you were like part of the
I was
royalty.
cunt,
Right.
and like I remember like
So you liked being the bitch on the block.
yeah, but it
more
was
than it
like
being church, you're like, oh yeah.
but I was like, give it a few years, and literally all these people are going to be like, what the fuck? But
What's crazy is that the adults though, they had to have known. They were either lying to themselves or they
about
knew.
what?
Queerness?
Oh, that's the thing. It was literally, it was an unspoken. It was just unspoken.
In
I
retrospect,
came out
I'm
and
like-
people. I came out. Not my coming out. Like I came out of my mom's cooch.
Right.
Queer. Literally, always. It was never a question. Nobody ever questioned it. And that's the thing. Like I didn't necessarily have such a hard time like from family and stuff, but I mean I also did, obviously, yes, like that since, let's update to today. There are things and instances and of where people kind of just put their brain on pause, where they just like stop trying to intake information and educate themselves, where I'm just kind of like wiped my hands of it all. But I'm like, yeah, I'm still that kid who literally was like, I am so different from all of you. Like, why am I in this abandoned hot tub in the basement of this church, like fucking sucking on my third cousin, Jimmy?
Wait.
Like,
Wait, sucking on your third cousin? Like sucking
not
on
actually,
like
just
okay.
like just like literally. Okay, I'm sorry, but everyone has a cousin they think is hot.
No.
You don't?
No, do you?
Well, I've never been like that close to my family. Maybe not now. I don't know. I haven't seen him in forever.
But as a kid you lusted after your cousins.
I think there was like one, but that's the thing. We weren't like blood. We weren't even blood. It was just like,
Well, then that's not your cousin.
but now I don't know. He is as rural as it gets. Like,
what else? Wasn't everyone you knew rural as it gets?
pretty fucking much.
Yeah.
I was like the sign of life. Like there's a huge field of shit, and I'm like one little
They
dandelion
thought you were
going
fucking
through.
Satan.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, did people characterize you, especially in church, characterize you as like, because really it was just you showing queerness, and people are like, oh, this kid is a behavioral issue.
I don't know. People were just fucking weird. Like, I would love to have the experience of, like growing up in a city and like everyone just kind of being with it generally, like with the times and like, oh, okay, there are different people. Like literally
Yeah.
living here now
In Chicago.
yes, like there are so many different people. I love it. Like it's not
Yeah.
the same thing that
Whereas
you see
when
every
you
day.
live in a small town in Missouri, you really encounter everyone is the same.
Yes.
Everyone's the same.
So being different, and then like that's the thing.
You
like,
really if you're
you
different
don't
in a
have
small
to go
town,
to
you
church.
really stick
Right, like
out.
you don't have to go to church, but when I did go to church and I made it a choice to, people questioned that, of course. Like, but literally the head of the church, the main pastor, his son is gay. And I knew that
So you
before
were like,
he
I'm
knew
fine.
that.
You're like, I'm fine.
And well, yeah, I was like, I literally knew. Like I was in high school and I was older than him, and he would like kind of confide in me, but also be like, oh my God, this girl is hot. And I'd be like, you're
don't believe
literally
that.
lying to yourself. You're like, and then, it was I think I'm bisexual. And then it was, I'm gay.
Wait, was this how old is this person compared to you?
Probably like 2 years, 3 years younger than me.
Oh, younger. Okay, so I
And
was
like
fully,
they're
I was
sis.
fully thinking this. You were like, I don't know why, but you were like a kid, and there's this 20-year-old gay man who's like, wow, these girls are so hot. But no, this person's younger than you.
No, yeah, this
Okay, good.
person is
Okay,
younger
good.
than me.
Good.
But also their family's just cool. Like, I've always thought their family's cool. Like, they live in California now. Their sister's super cool.
So
like,
you can still be a Christian and cool if you're from California.
right.
I remember this. It was a church that I was going to when I was really young, and another person that went to that church was in a show at the local community theater. And so the whole church bought tickets to go see at the same show to go see this person in the show.
Yeah.
In retrospect, baby, that was a gay. It was a gay that was in the show who also went to this church.
Yeah.
But I just remember being so, first of all, enamored with the theater. I was like, oh, this is amazing. But second of all, I was like, I couldn't like put my finger on it, but I was so interested in that person. And I guess for a long time, I kind of like convinced myself it was just because we went to go see the show at the theater, and I like just remembered the show. But I just think I remember seeing that queer person in that fucking Christian space, and it was, as a child, I was like, and this person was also a kid. They were like a teenager, just being themselves, probably not out of the closet. But I just remember immediately connecting to this person, not even exchanging words, just like hearing them speak. Immediately, I'm like, I knew.
Yes.
Not understanding, being naive and a child and not really understanding what it was, but I knew that, like, I still remember it to this day. I remember this person. I remember always watching this person when we were in the same room. And so it's interesting how, like, church brought that connection about, because it's like church would discourage queer community, but really, like, that was the first example of my experience face to face with a queer person. And at the time I didn't even know that. It's only like thinking back that I realized why I was so like interested in that person.
There was a lady at the church I went to who I just like got really close with. Her name was Karen. L-O fucking
A cis
L.
woman?
Yes. And she did in fact vote for Trump.
Okay.
Her name is Karen, voted for Trump. Love you, Karen. Honestly, like, one of the sweetest people ever. Like, cancel me. Cool. I don't give a shit. I was a child. But she, like, made sure, like, my siblings and I, like, had clothes, gifts. Like, for every holiday, she would literally take me shopping and buy, like, me and all my siblings things. Would, like, I remember when I graduated high school, she gave me, like, $1,000 check. And
it
wanted
was
to buy me a car.
You knew her through church.
Literally through church. And she was just like, I always thought she was like so cool. When my mom like threw me out of the house one time, she let me stay at her house for a week and like took me to and from work. And school, LOL. But like, and I was completely out to her, and she knew, and like, I would
just was kind.
Yes. And I was invited to dinner with her family, and I knew her kids and her grandkids, and was like never I met her parents, who had to have been like in their 80s at the time. Like,
I think that's one of the most positive things about church is like
there are genuine people that see people struggling, that have, I'm not religious by any means, but I think like someone like that is the true definition of what I would assume to be a Christian. Like, you believe that there is something greater out there that you have to answer to. So even if it's for that purpose, like, oh my God, me doing this, like these acts of service, as people would say, like, regardless of the reason, like if there is a force out there driving you to be a good person,
I think it's a good thing.
Go for it.
It's not necessarily what Christianity does for most people nowadays, though.
Right. A church
Oh my
story.
God. Were you ever baptized?
Yes, I was baptized.
I mean, how old were you?
I think I was like 15, 14.
I was probably like 13. I was baptized.
Actually, hold
too.
on. I had to have been like 16, almost 17.
What kind of body of water?
In a tank in the church, in front of everyone.
I got baptized in a bougie subdivision's community pool.
Oh, period.
That someone from my church lived in that subdivision, so our church had a baptism at their community pool. So I got baptized at the community pool. I was like 13 years old. I fully just felt like pressured, like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do now. So I did it.
And she was like, I think she was like sober when she wanted me to do it.
Oh, so your mom wanted you to get
My mom,
baptized.
yeah, like the one time she was sober, she's like, I think it'd be cool if you got baptized. I'd love that. And I was like, okay, let's go to my church and we'll do it. And then the same people that baptized me like spoke at her funeral. But also the camp of my baptism, bitch, my little experimental gay ass
Yeah.
had fully just colored my hair black. Like shitty black box color.
Huh?
And
Like,
when
it's never coming out.
Yeah. And when I came out of the water, the water was literally like murky, nasty, dark blue, black, scary.
That's amazing.
It just looked a little ghastly.
Were there other people that had to get baptized after you?
No.
Okay.
I was like
Imagine
the last.
getting baptized in the black hair dye water.
This old, scary old man
Huh? Dunked
watching
underwater.
these children get dressed and undressed.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like you're putting on clothes to get baptized in, and there's
Okay.
just an old man sitting in this room right before the stairs that go up into the tank, just staring at you while you're getting undressed.
That's so creepy. That is,
I don't know why I
that was
just remembered
not my-
that, but
that's really scary. Not my experience. I just showed up in a t-shirt and swimming trunks, and then in the community room outside of the pool, there was like a bunch of snacks set up. And really, I just wanted to be celebrated, and I knew there was food involved, and there was all of our friends from the church. So I was just excited to like be a part of something and be celebrated and have snacks. Okay, but the man who baptized you watched you change.
well, you're like in this room, you're changing. So it was so chaotic. I wore an outfit,
Okay.
and then I change into what I'm getting baptized in. So like I come in my outfit, like that I'm gonna wear for the rest of the day.
And you change into
But then I
your
change into the
baptism
outfit
clothes.
I'm getting baptized in. There's this old man just sitting in the room.
That's creepy. That's really creepy.
And then you get baptized, and then you come out, and this old man's sitting there, and I'm literally like getting completely naked.
There's no reason that
to
he
change
needed
into
to
my
be there.
dry
There's
clothes,
no
and he's
reason
just
he
sitting
needed-
in there.
Yeah, there's no reason he needed to be there.
And it's just like this like big weird like big open room like behind
Yeah, he did not need to.
the
be there.
stage, and he's just sitting there.
Well, it's not like that. It's a surprise that people in Christian churches creep on children. Yeah, we know that.
No, very that.
I haven't been to church in a very long
I
time.
couldn't even fucking tell. I literally could not tell you the last time I went to church. Maybe like to vote.
Right.
Literally to
That's
vote.
true. I did go to a church to vote when we lived in Missouri.
Yes.
I went to church to watch a relative's baptism.
Yes.
Because I love my relative and it was important to them.
Yes.
But other than that, I definitely haven't been in for a sermon, and I don't think I will be.
Take me to church, I worship like a dog, Australian life. I worship my sins and I don't know the fucking words. Sharpen your knife. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Watch What Happens in the Green Room with
Right.
Jimmy Anti and Dig and Michelle.
Right.
I'm Dig and
Right.
Michelle.
And I'm Jimmy Anti.
You can follow me at Dig and Michelle on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok, and soon Farmers Only.
You can follow me at Jimmy Anti on Instagram. That's JIMMYANTI. And on TikTok. You can follow me at Jimmy the Anti on Twitter. And that's it. Thanks so much for
Stream
listening.
Get Dusted Party on Vimeo at vimeo.com/Get Dusted Party. I'm Dig and Michelle signing off.
How many times are we going to say goodbye?
Bye. This has been Dagan. This has been Dagan and Jimmy are in the
Shut the
green
fuck
room.
up. This has been Shut the Fuck Up.
Bye.